hello. Welcome to the Lipstick League, where sports and pop culture come to play. I'm Nicole.
Right. And I'm Natalie.
And so this is part of our series. And the theme this week is Houston.
Yeah,
and I'm so excited to welcome my friend of 20 years, which is crazy.
20 years. 2 years, because we're babies. Two years.
Little tiny babies.
Wait, that's amazing.
Yeah, we met when I was an intern at Q102. Anyway, without further ado, Ms. Roula Christie, everybody.
Hey, hi. What you doing? Oh my gosh, this is so fun because I started my morning radio career in Philly at Q102 WIOQ with you in the morning. And Nicole, I think my first year, was the first or second year, Nicole, you were on promotions.
It was, you started in 2000. May of 2000. And I started
2001.
No, I started June of 2000.
Oh, okay. Got it.
But I don't think we really became friends until I was actually on the promotion crew. I interned for 3 months and then I was on the promotion crew. And then that's when you and I started to become friends.
I feel like promotions is when you really get to bond with the on-air talent. Cause I started promotions too.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I started in radio promotions too. So I feel like that's when you get to bond with the talent because you're always sent out with a crew member.
Yeah, for 2 hours. And y'all are besties for those 2 hours because you're the only people that know each other.
Yeah. Yes. And radio listeners can, you never know what you're going to get. So it's just form this pack together where you're okay, we're going to get through, we're at Duffers in Delco and and it smells like Marlboro Reds, but we're gonna get through this together.
And it's crazy because Roula, you born and raised in Houston, and then you took this job. You were what, 25, 26?
I just turned 20. It was a month into being 25.
Right.
Oh my God.
Right. You moved alone to Philly. And
a soul. Did not know a soul on the East Coast. Nobody knew nobody in Philly, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. I had zero connections anywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I guess I'll take this job. And if I don't like it, I guess I could just come back.
Right. And we were close enough in age that we would go out to, the lagoon for
because really, let's talk about how really the bond started, Natalie, because when you, as you know, when you're a DJ and you get sent out for a 2-hour event somewhere and you have your promotions team, I didn't have any friends in Philly. And I say this all the time, no matter what city I live in.
Yeah.
If you are an adult moving to a new city, it's very hard to make friends because everybody already has their friends. They have their childhood friends, their church friends, their family friends.
Right.
It's very hard to make solid friends as an adult. And I didn't have any friends in Philly. And my friends were the people that I worked with. I mean, I would hang out at the radio station, right? So when I would get sent out on stuff with the promotion kids that I liked, I mean, because there's some you kind of bond with and some you don't.
Yeah.
And there were three solids.
Yeah.
And Nicole was one of them. And when I would get picked or they would get picked for me or I get picked for them, however they did that in promotions and they assigned them to me, I would come to the radio station to ride with them to the gig. Then we would leave the gig together, obviously. And that's say, well, let's go have lunch. And I'd pay for their lunch. And then we go back and that was our day.
Yeah.
And that's how we became solid,
Well, and it's also really crazy when you think about it, that this literally was in 2000, 2001, we had to print out directions on MapQuest. You moved to a brand new city and you had to figure out how to get from City Ave to Bucks County.
Dude.
And it wasn't, you just didn't plug it in your phone.
Y'all, I left Q102 one time after work and they put me up at this place in Center City. There's a place here called City Center now, and I always screw that up. In Houston, there's a City Center, but you guys have Center City. So I'm in Center City, but I'm lost, and I'm on the Schuylkill, and I was supposed to exit whatever street it was, and I'm calling the place, and I'm I'm on the Schuylkill, and I don't know which exit you are, and are you this exit, or is that one before this one or that one? And the guy's like, what? I don't know. And before I knew it, I was on the damn Ben Franklin Bridge going to Jersey, and I was like, son of a nutcracker. And so then I pay the $3 toll to come back around.
It's $5 now.
Yeah, is it $5 now?
Did you have cash to get back? Because I've done that before. I've lived here, by the way. I've lived in Philly proper my entire life. And I've accidentally gone over the Ben 6, 7, 8 times. And a couple times that I've done it, I didn't have any cash on me to get back. So then then I'd have to go to a Wawa in Jersey, get cash out, come back over the bridge. And I'm just
still can't turn left in Jersey, right? Still jug handles?
No. I will never
turn left, right?
For that movie.
Okay, by the way, my first time ever over the Ben Franklin Bridge, I realized I was on it, and I know now there's barricades, but there were not the first time I got on the Ben Franklin. I go, where am I going? I tried to U-turn the Ben Franklin Bridge.
No.
Yes. My mom was visiting my third week in Philly. I tried to U-turn that bridge. And my mom goes, I don't really think that's a good idea. I go, look, Mom, I think I can make it. And I started to turn the wheel. She goes, no, don't do it. Just go straight. And I was thinking, oh my God, I'd be that crazy person on the news. The woman U-turned the Ben Franklin and she smashed into
local radio personality. All right, let's regroup for a second. First, let me say thank you for doing this, because you have 3 little kids, yes, all under the age of 8. Right?
Oh my God.
3
kids. I just fed them dinner and said, don't bother mommy.
Yeah.
All hail.
3 kids under the age of 8, hosts your own morning show. Yes. So, which means you get up at 4:00 in the morning. So the fact that you're doing this, thank you. All right. So I want to talk about your journey first, because you know so much about sports and we've been texting a lot. So I'm like, but there's so much going on in Houston right now. So to be able to have you to talk about you, but I want to talk about kind of how you got to where you are first, because there's going to be your fans that are listening, and they I feel like they know you, but sometimes you need a little refresh. And then there's all these new people, and I, talk about being Christie and how your actual name's Roula. So start from the beginning, that your parents came from Greece.
Okay. My parents came from Greece. And actually January 26th was my dad's anniversary, my dad's coming to America date. He landed in New York Harbor, January 26th of 1955. So I always do this thing every year for him. He passed away in 2013, but I always talk about how he hadn't done this, I wouldn't be here. So my parents, born and raised in Greece. My dad, 19 years old, comes to the States. Starts to build a life for himself, goes back to Greece to visit his ailing father, meets my mom on the bus and likes her. And we're talking the 60s now in Greece, and everything is like pretty much arranged marriages. I mean, girls have dowries. It's almost like Bridgerton, but no parties.
Yeah. And so, or horses.
Or horses. So he sees her on the bus. He likes her, asks his brother who this girl is, talks to his parents, talks to her parents. The next day, her dad says, so-and-so's here from America, probably be a good match for you. You're the youngest of 6 kids over here. You can get out of this town, la, 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 blah, blah, blah. And she said, okay, I guess so. And my dad said, I don't want you to marry me because they're forcing you. I want you to want to marry me to come here. Because when I'm going to take you away and you're not going to see them for a long time. And she said, that's fine. I understand. So they got married within like 3 months. And then 1 week after the wedding, he left for the States and left her alone in Greece.
But wait, let me say that you repeated them, because you got engaged after 9 months only. So we'll get to that in a second. Yeah. But it obviously runs in the family.
Right. So he has to come back to work. My family owns a seafood and steak restaurant here in Houston. And
called Christie's Seafood and Steak on Westheimer.
Thank you, Nicole, for remembering. It is the oldest restaurant in Houston. It's 104 years old.
Yeah.
And it's holding on by the fingernails in COVID, but let's praise Jesus on that. So the man that my dad worked for, Natalie, was Mr. Theodore Christie. He was a Greek man, but he changed his name from Christophides to Christie because it was easier. Yeah. And when he met my father, and my father was like a son to him. He was such a good worker. My dad was like a son to him. The man didn't have any kids, and he knew that at some point in his life, he's going to die, and this restaurant will die with him if he doesn't do something. Yeah. And at the time in the 60s, you have to think of what American culture was, what was American society in every city across America. There's not like a lot of restaurant culture. We don't have going out and partying and let's meet for dinner. And it was a big deal to go to dinner. You dress up. It's after church Sundays, And so this man had one of the most successful restaurants in the city. It was busting at the seams. He had like 2 other locations. And so my dad was basically adopted by him legally to change his name so that there wouldn't be any drama when the man passed away. Okay. This restaurant keeps going and James Christie is running it and la, 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 la. And there's some other details there that I'm going to bog it down with, but okay. That's why my last name was Christie. My birth last name is Christie, but if I'd gone with my dad's birth Greek name, it's a different name. Okay. So my mom comes here by herself. All she knew how to say at the airport was Houston. That's all she knew for English.
Oh my God.
And back then, guys, we didn't have flights like we have now, honey. Right. It was a 4-hour ride from the village to Athens. Then it was a 5-hour flight to Amsterdam, a 10-hour layover in Amsterdam, and then an 11-hour flight to Houston. And so all she knew how to say was Houston. So she shows up to the airport. My dad's there. He gets her. They go to the house where he shares it with a third cousin and his wife, a second cousin and his wife and their mom. It's like 8 people. My mom is basically the maid.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, okay, here's the newest bride. Let's go. My dad worked all day long and that's it. Okay. Eventually 5 kids. And here we are. So we grow up in a restaurant. This is what I thought my whole future was. I never had any other idea of somebody said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I didn't have any answer because I knew I was going to run a restaurant. So I'm 20 years old and I'm working at the restaurant. And I was hating it, but I didn't know how much I hated it. And we ran out of strawberries for the cheesecake. And my sister says, you need to go to the grocery store and buy some more strawberries. I go, hell yeah, get me out of here. I'll go do whatever. Right. So I go get them. And when I come back on the way there and on the way back, I was listening to the top 40 radio station in Houston was 104.1 KRBE. And I was listening to that. It was just on the radio as my sister's car. And I heard the jock say, man, I'm so tired of ordering pizza, the night jock. If you have a restaurant that can deliver, you know, give us a call because I want to, you know, I'll pay for it and everything, but I just want to get something different. He was still talking about it on the drive back with the strawberries. So I'm in the parking lot with the strawberries and I'm like, oh, what's this guy's name? Okay, let me call. So I call it when I go inside and they answer on the first ring and he goes, what restaurant are you? And I said, you know, this, and we're not that far from you guys. Actually, we're like 3 miles away from you guys. So he calls me back and they say, okay, we pick you, you know, whatever. So me and my 2 sisters go and deliver this fried shrimp. Now, Natalie, in Houston, Texas, if there's a food you have to try, it is the Christie Seafood and Steaks fried shrimp with remoulade sauce. Okay. Forget the word fried. It's just an adventure. People are like, oh, I'm trying to watch my waistline. No.
Fried does not scare me.
You have to eat this fried shrimp. And so that's what I took him. And when we went up there, he let us sit around for like an hour and a half. Cause think about night jocks, 3 girls, let's just hang out.
Right.
And the fire was turned on for radio. And it wasn't to be on the air. It was just to work at KRBE because it looked so fun. Like I already listened to it a little bit and now I saw his studio and I was like, oh, this looks like a really fun place to work. But now it's going to be weird if I like this too much. So we became friendly. And over the next like 6 months, we were friendly. He'd come to the restaurant on his way home and we'd hang out. We'd go to clubs. He'd get us in, all that stuff. And then he called me and he said he got a job at Z100 in New York. He's moving. And then I was like, oh my God, I really want to be in radio so bad. I'm such a nerd. I didn't want you to think I'm like stalking you or something, but I didn't want to ask you. He goes, do you have a resume? I go, yeah. He goes, well, bring it up here. So the assistant program director at the time, his in-laws were #1 fans of Christie's. They were #1 customers. And I didn't know this, but he knew this when he saw my name. So I'm sitting in the APD's office. He's looking at it and he's interviewing me, by the way, for a $5 an hour job to answer request lines.
Wait, who was the AP? Cubby was the night jock.
Cubby was the night guy. Paul Clay Bryant, who's on Light 106 now. Yeah, he's on Light FM.
This is how small of a world radio is, though. So Cubby was on who Roula is talking about. He then went to Z100 and then went to KTU in New York. And one of my best friends, Colleen, was his producer in New York like a year ago. And then Cubby just went to Light, who's still all in like the same, but like it's a small world. On the music side, side.
Yeah, totally. So, he tells me, it's a $5 an hour job. Scott Sparks is interviewing me. I'm thinking it's so tremendous to be like, oh God, am I gonna get this job? But they're like, we just need phone ops, So I got the job to be a phone op and I would do the 6 to midnight answering the request lines. Would radio companies even pay for that now? Of course not.
No.
So, but they always wanted the phone to be answered. So I took the requests, and then I taught myself how to run the board because I'd get bored in there and I'm like, I just want to learn stuff. And we had other production rooms, and KRBE is a Lone Ranger. It's never had like sister stations before. Like when I came to Philly and Q102 had like Alice and had all these things, I was like, wow, that's so crazy. Yeah. I only knew the one thing, all those production rooms are KRBE production rooms. Okay. So I taught myself how to run the board and hit the buttons. And then one night when I was waiting tables, the night jock at the time called me and said, what are you doing? I said, oh, do you want me to order you some food? You going to come eat? He goes, no, I need you to come here because I got to get out of here. The 10 to 2 a.m. jock had not shown up, was not answering his phone. The APD, assistant program director, music director, nobody's answering their phones. And I got to get out of here. And I said, well, if I'm going to ditch my tables, I'm not just coming there, hit buttons. I'm talking. He goes, I don't care what you do. I just need to get out of here.
He's like, I just got to go.
Yeah. So I put myself on the air for 2 hours on a Friday night in my waitress uniform. And my APD, my assistant producer, calls the private line and says, who is this? And then I was like, it's Roula. He's like, Roula, what the hell are you doing? And I go, well, I got calls from the restaurant and we can't have a Friday night without a jock. It's Friday night. Right. You want me just to stop and just hit the buttons? He goes, no, you sound pretty good. So then from then I got the overnights. And then from then I got the nights to be like the sidekick nights. And then from the nights, I got mornings at Q102 Philadelphia. And I did that for 3 years. And then I came back for the Roula and Ryan Show. I've been doing that 18 years.
Hold on a second. Because the good part is we got to talk about being a woman and all that stuff. Because first of all, when they were putting together Chio at Q102. So it was Chio and then Diego.
And Diego had been on Q102 radio for a long time. He was like a Philly staple.
And so did Chio, because like Chio did nights and then he came back to do afternoons and then they put together this morning show. And you were known on the air in Houston as Roula.
Yes.
But in 2000, they thought that was too ethnic.
Oh, yes.
So
oh God. I just said this story the other day on the air, Nicole. When they hired me, they never said, by the way, you're going to change your name. By the way, they never said that. And I was here. I remember I got here Wednesday, May the 8th. It was either May the 8th was my first morning show or Wednesday. I know May the 8th I think Wednesday, May the 8th is when I landed in Philly.
Okay.
And I had Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then Monday I was live. On Saturday, freaking Bridgman tells me, by the way, yeah, you're gonna have to change your name. I go, wait, what? Well, what do you mean I'm changing my name? He's like, yeah, like Chio's too, we already got Chio, we got Diego. So like Roula's like too ethnic. We need something more vanilla. I was like, dude, I'm not vanilla. I am not vanilla.
Right.
And I felt so stressed, like, oh my God, you want me to change my name?
Well, and of course you have to change your name.
Yeah, I mean, at least they let me pick a name, because a lot of jocks in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, they were just given names and didn't get a choice.
Like you're gonna be Mary in the morning.
Yeah. Or like dudes would get changed, like whatever the hot thing at the time was, like you're gonna be Carson now because Carson is cool,
Yeah.
So they said, well, think about. He goes, because I remember Bridgman Nichols like, how about like Tina? You think Tina? I go, oh God! Like I like recoil in like disgust.
Who's she talking about is Brian Bridgman, who hired her at Q102 and then became he's responsible for like hiring me too. He
pretty much
took me under his wing, and we still talk pretty regularly.
And I do love him so much. I haven't talked to him
but that's
in
like
years.
something that he would do, where he knew he was going to have her change her name, but he wanted her to like sign the contract, and that's what like you did, especially to women in 2000.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
When you were the third mic,
Yes.
Yeah.
So she was Christie, so it was her actual last name. So for the longest time, we called her Christie, and then when we finally became close enough, she's like, so like you can call me Roula.
Yeah, because here's the crazy thing, Natalie. Chio was on the air with me. I think it was like week number 2.
Yeah.
And I had a hard time answering to Christie because it's not my name. But I picked Christie because I was basically, my back was against the wall to pick a name. And I even threw out like my sister's first name, my best friend's first name, all these things. And then I said, well, okay, look, we'll just go by Christie, because my entire life having a real name that is Roula Christie, in every classroom that had a sub, they would stop at the roster and be like, Christie? Right. It's Roula, so I said, okay, fine. I'll just go by Christie for now, and then we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I didn't even give myself a last name. It was just Christie. And so Chio's talking to me on an open break, and I have my head down reading something, and I'm not answering him because he's calling me Christie. Yeah. And I didn't know to answer him because that's not my name.
It's so funny because like this like it's all like kind of like coming back to me now. Like that was like my prime with Q102. Like that was like my state. I was like the target.
P1. You're the
P1. Yeah.
I was the one calling for those NSYNC tickets.
Yes.
Like in 2000. That was trying to be caller 102.
Yes.
Remember Instinct for NSYNC? Remember Instinct for NSYNC?
People lived in a garbage can. Okay, so really quick, one thing which is really crazy too is that like she did mornings with Chio, and then I ended up doing mornings with Chio, which was
so crazy.
Yeah. But so talk really quick just about your decision to go back to Houston, about how you worked at Mix, how you got back to KRBE. Then I have like two really quick questions, and then we'll move into the sports. But I want you to talk about that transition of how you fought to get your name first.
Yeah. And
then I want to talk about the difference of being a woman in radio in 2000 compared to 2021.
Now. Right.
So when I, as Nicole said, radio is a really small pool. And a lot of these radio companies, corporations, they'll move people from one city to the other in all facets of the job, right? Yeah. The business managers, whatever it is. So one of the guys that worked at Q102 Philly, I think he got moved to Clear Channel Houston. iHeart used to be called Clear Channel. So they moved him to Clear Channel Houston. Mm-hmm. And when he got to Clear Channel Houston, he wanted to build his team. He poached a couple of people from Philly that he worked with here. And they moved, remember Maggie, she moved to Houston. And so we were number one for like those 3 years. The Chio in the Morning Show was like killing it. Q102 altogether was like killing it. They were like number one in every day part. I think one book they had a party, like every single day part was number one.
Yeah.
That station was a monster.
So the story that I heard was that when he was in a Suits meeting in Houston, and they were trying to figure out what to do with one of their properties called Mix 96.5. They were going over like morning shows they could probably plug in there. And then that guy said, well, I just came from Q102 and Roula like lives and bleeds Houston. I mean, why is there a Houston girl kicking ass in Philly when a Houston girl could be kicking ass in Houston?
Yeah.
So my contract was up in May. I was going into I finished 3 whole years there, but I was heading into the 4th. In the 4th year of May was when it was finishing. So that May contract got shortchanged at December because they called me and said they wanted me to offer me the morning gig there. Now, I was pretty much feeling that my next step from Q102 would be New York, because they would send me to do all this stuff in New York. And I had my relationship with Cubby and, Tom Pullman and Cubby. I mean, Tom Pullman makes the world go round in New York. And I just thought maybe the next evolutionary move was going to be I'd end up in New York somehow. But when the Houston thing came up, I was like, wow. And I had an agent at the time, thank goodness. And I still have him. Shout out Paulie. And the guy who called me was the program director for Mix, and his name is Mark Sherman, which I love him to this day. And he said to me, we want to talk to you about doing mornings in Houston, this and this and that. And I was like, well, my contract. Well, we can take care of that. It's kind of like a transition thing because it's the same company. I was like, okay. And they go, well, like, who do you want me to work with? And they said, well, that's the thing. We want you to tell us who you want to work with because we want it to be a female-led morning show. And I was like,
it was their idea to have it.
It was Mark Sherman's idea.
And that was in 2002.
That's amazing.
Yeah, going into 2003.
Yeah.
So Mark Sherman said he wanted a female-led morning show. They saw the numbers of what we were doing at Q102 and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, okay, that's cool. And then it was really up to me to figure out what guy I wanted. And I knew guys in radio, but I didn't know if I would work well with them in radio. And there's one guy that for a long time I regretted not calling him, because he even called me out on it years later. Like, how come you never called me for that? Because he was on the beach at the time, meaning he's out of a job. Yeah. But I refrained from calling him, guys, because I liked him so much as a friend.
Yeah.
I was worried as to what kind of radio show we would do.
Yeah.
If these two people are so, oh my God, Joe, you're so fun. Let's clink our coffee cups.
Right.
It's not exciting. I mean, It's exciting, but it's annoying as crap.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, maybe if I go with somebody I don't know, because they had thrown to me, you can give us anybody you want and we can let you sit and talk with them and we can figure if we like it. But there's this other guy that we were thinking about too, if that's okay, if you're good with that. His name is Ryan, and he was on K. I go, yeah. He used to be on KRB. I used to listen to him when I was younger. He's like, yeah, he's in LA now. He does XYZ things. And we were thinking maybe we could let you two audition together. I go, that's fine. I mean, I'm really malleable. Like, I mean, I didn't know Chio at all. I made that work. You know what I mean? Yeah. I just figured I could probably just work around the personality. Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of not good to hit the green light on a couple of the dudes I had in my head. And since they already knew they had an idea with Ryan, I said, okay, I'll try him out first. I tried him out first. So I flew to Houston in the dark of night on this AM stick.
This was
nobody
very...
listened. Yeah, because it was really secret hush hush. I mean, my name in Houston was a known name, so I definitely couldn't say Roula. Yeah. And I couldn't tell anybody in Philly, oh, hey, I'm going to go audition. And they didn't want, we just didn't want to cause a rift. Yeah. So it was 10 o'clock until midnight. They put us on this AM station that played like 40s World War II music. And they had us do just talk to each other. Talk to each other. Yeah. And they liked it. And then they said, are you good with him? Or do you want us to pull other people? And I really thought about it. And I just was like, it's fine, I can make it work.
Yeah.
He has a Houston background because he moved to Houston when he was 10. He used to work at KRB because their philosophy, guys, business-wise, was they're going to shoot the KRBE guns back at KRBE because that was their biggest competitor. So they wanted the Mix station to have 2 KRBE alums, and let's see how it works. So we put it together and it did. And we're talking about radio in 2003.
Yeah.
You could do things that today you'd be lit on fire for. You'd be sued to high heaven.
Oh yeah.
We did the gallon milk challenge. We just said, if you're listening to us right now, here's our address, come up here. And we had 5 gallons of milk. Can you drink this in an hour? You win whatever, some tickets. And people are barfing in garbage cans everywhere.
You win a half a container of sunscreen. I'll do it.
Right. We had like the 5 saltine challenge. If you can have 5 saltines in 60 seconds with no liquid, you win like a freaking koozie or beer hugger. You know, I mean, people are choking to death. Like, I mean, that stuff does not fly now. You can't do that.
Right.
But we just did fun stuff. And I remember I still was friendly with the KRBE people, and I moved back home and had lunch with some unknown suits from connection to this company. And when I was telling them all the fun things that we do, they kind of looked at each other like, how come that's not happening on our station?
Yeah. So how long did Mix last?
3 years.
And then
3 years. And it was the most dramatic. It's like The Bachelor, in the most dramatic ending ever.
Right.
We got replaced, Natalie, because for all politically correct ways I can say it, this guy over here was friends with the guy at my company, and this guy was about to jump ship, and he's like, okay, we'll come over here. And they just cut us off in one day. Like, we got called in on Wednesday, and Thursday we were off the air. And it was so insane because this is before social media.
Yeah.
I had built RoulaandRyan.com as my own, so I controlled it. It wasn't a radio property, right?
Right.
And that's really what saved us, because my dad called me on Thursday morning at 8:30, and he was
where
like,
are you? And
what are you doing? I need you to come and answer the phones. They won't leave me alone. I'm trying to prep over here. What's going on?
Because people were calling the restaurant.
People were calling Christie's to find out, where is Roula? Where is Ryan? What happened to the Roula and Ryan show? There's nothing happening on Mix. And so we got people would come to the restaurant to eat just to hope they saw to see me, to see if they get an explanation. So, you know, we just went to kick them to the website. I put a banner, like our position on Westheimer. How would you describe Westheimer compared to Philly? Like, what can I compare it with? It's
very,
almost very
like
busy
a little
street.
Yeah. It's like the Boulevard, but more high end.
Okay, nice. Like you know, King of Prussia Mall. Okay, here we have the Galleria. The Galleria is like a shopping mecca.
Yeah,
the restaurant is a mile and a half west of the Galleria. So you have like 100,000 cars passing this restaurant.
Right.
So I bought a vinyl sign, like a vinyl banner, and I tied it to the columns of my parents' Christie Seafood sign. So at almost like traffic eye level, it said, "Go to RoulandRyan.com." And so we got in 2005. We got 24 million hits to our website to find out what happened to you guys.
This is insane.
But this is the power of radio, which is people forget.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like the fact that you were just like, so like, and even just being like super innovative like that, to just
to have the website,
to have the website, especially back then. Mm-hmm. And then B, to just be like, okay, well, I know that you just took us off the air, but like, hi, I'm gonna put a sign outside of the restaurant.
Yeah.
And that's how people are gonna find us. Like, it's hard, and it's hard to remember like how
arcane it was back then. It was really arcane.
Because it doesn't feel like that long ago, yet you had to just like make your own billboard.
Yes.
And just be like, okay, like I have nowhere to explain where I went. Nobody's telling anybody where I went. So here's the sign, and all it's going to say is the name of the website, and you're going to find me. Like, that's
so we were out for 9 months. And in the 9 months, I got some job offers to go off and do my own thing in other cities. And Ryan got some, you know, if you think about it now that I'm a mom, I think to myself, like, holy crap, Ryan had a 3-year-old kid. No, he had a 5-year-old kid back then.
Wow.
And his wife was a stay-at-home mom. So think of how hard that must have been, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I was talking to my agent, you know, your agent, you have an agent because they help you find gigs and they have their feelers out and all that stuff. And I really believed in what we had. I believed in our talent. I believed in our show chemistry. And I just knew that if we broke up and went our separate ways, that's a shame. Like, this city wants us so bad. Somebody's got to open up somewhere. Yeah. And it took 9 months to figure all that out. And we ended up on KRBE, and we started July 26th of 2006 on KRBE. And that's 10 years, Natalie. That's 10 years, almost to the month, that I got the job for $5 an hour answering the request lines.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
And you've been there ever since, which is so rare.
I feel like
I just signed another 5-year deal. So my deal's not up till 2025.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so amazing. And
I
so
know.
you've been there ever since, and you have to just be so happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a blessing. I mean, you kind of think, just, and I don't care for anybody listening right now, any job you're doing, before you know it, you've been at your job for 2 years. Like I just said to you, Nicole, wow, you've been at your job for, is it TXU or XTU?
XTU, yeah.
XTU, yeah. I think of Texas and country.
Yeah.
You've been there 2 years and that flew by. So every time like a chunk of time would go by, I'm like, oh, wow, that's so crazy. I just feel like we've been living our life with the privilege of the mic at KRBE.
Yeah.
We just get to have fun and talk to people
Yeah.
like we're at a party, but the party reaches 6 million plus people, you
Right.
know?
So the one thing people listen that want the sports, we're getting to the sports, but the one thing about Roula that I remember even from early on was that you never had a problem standing up for yourself. You always, and it's weird because I definitely have a big mouth and I have opinions, but I do still struggle in the sense of fighting for what I want sometimes. And that was something that you never struggle with. You're like, this is who I am. This is what I deserve. And you were like that early on,
but it's ignorance is bliss, Nicole. I didn't know I didn't know I was doing it when I was doing it. My first year at Q102,
right.
when I didn't have an agent, Natalie and I got hired, and I didn't know there were unions and all that stuff.
Right.
I mean, I got hired for like a criminal price because I was green and first morning show. And so then after I learned that in that first year, going into my second year, my negotiation, I remember it was 3 dudes across the table and just me. And I mean, y'all, I think I bit a hole into my cheek that week because of the stress. And I remember it was like a movie. They had like a file folder with like a paper with a number on it. And they slid it across the table to me. And I looked at it and I slid it back. And I just said, you're going to do better than that. And then they slid it again. And then I go, no. And I slid it back. And in the end, I ended up getting like a 30% raise. And when they were trying to give me a 3% raise.
Right.
And I got all this other benefit stuff. Like, you're going to get me this. And when I told that union rep, like what I ended up getting, she goes, oh my God, how did you do that? And I go, I don't know. I just know what's right. And they already screwed me the first year.
Right.
So I just feel like it was ignorance, but I just thought it was the right thing. And yes, I have been shut down by a man before, where you do feel like the guy tells you something inappropriate and you shut down. You just want to erase yourself from the scene, get the hell out of there. Like he's harassing you or saying something gross. I've absolutely been there. But in the times when it really mattered, I freaking had the stones to be like, nope, that's not it. And like I was telling y'all before we started taping, when a man tells me something inappropriate, I make him repeat it. And I'm not telling him that I'm making him repeat it. I just say, I'm sorry, what did you say? Mm-hmm. Example, I was walking down the hall and there was a sales rep with a potential client. And I came out of the room when they were already walking. So now I'm in front of them. And he says to me, oh my God, look, there goes sexy pants. And I go, I'm sorry, what? And he goes, I was just saying, there goes sexy pants. And the guy next to me is like mortified. Yeah. And this is, by the way, only like a few years ago. And he goes, I'm sorry, what? What did you say? I can't hear you. And he goes, and then he had to say the third time and realize, I go, okay, that's right. And I just kept walking. Yeah. And I know that made him think, because the guy next to him was mortified. Like, what are you saying?
I mean, and that dude probably thought that he was showing off in front of the potential client.
Look, I can talk to her.
Right. Like this, I'm so cool. Like I call her sexy, and definitely wasn't prepared for you to come back.
Right. And for anybody listening to this who's a man, it's not about man bashing. It's about every woman that you don't realize that every day, at any minute, this happens to a woman you love, and she's not going to tell you about it because it's just happens. We just blow it off. And like I was just saying on the air the other day, I stopped going to run. Yeah, right. Somebody's chasing me. Walk at the park with a ponytail because a woman was dragged into the woods by her running ponytail and raped years ago in the news. Yeah. And that stuck with me forever. So when I go work out, I make sure I only have one earbud in, not two. That never crosses a man's mind that he can't have 2 earbuds in. And I always have my hair as tight as possible. I wear a visor and I'm always like looking around me when I'm walking. I'm never like immersed in something because you have to look at your surroundings. And this is not something men think about because they don't have to. Right. So that's where I'm coming from with the whole repeat this guy and we get harassed because it happens all the time. And a woman's not going to tell you because it's exhausting if we have to document it.
The thing that really set you apart though, is that I feel like when you started in radio, was that like women were the quote unquote sidekick.
They were the slut. They were the laugh box.
Slut. You go out and get wasted. It was tell me about your crazy story. I'm coming in drunk. And you were never like that. You were always like, I'm an equal. I'm a boss. I love my family. Like, what do you think? Do you think you just always had that strong sense of self to not feel, because I did mornings with Chio 12 years after you did, and he still tried to push that, why aren't you going out and dating and getting drunk and hook up with boys narrative? I'm like, it is 2015. Like, hello. Like, this is, and we're gonna have our radio friends on from Seattle, Carla Marie, and she did a morning show for 5 years in Seattle. Same, like, she's single, she's in her mid-30s, and she had an executive tell her, well, you're not a drunk slut and you're not married with kids, so who are you then? Like, how you gonna run a morning show?
What else do you talk to the table?
Yeah. So like, what do you think made you not care about that at that point?
Well, look, remember, they plucked me right out of the streets. Basically, if I was like you were saying, Natalie, being a P1 of Q102, I was just a young girl who loved the radio station and loved the music and the artists and all the fun part of it. But I had never had to give personal information about myself. My mom and dad raised me in a way where, you know, we're not crazy strict, but I just was always the kid in the class that always knew better. If I went to a sleepover, they wanted to sneak out of the house in the middle of the night, I'd be saying, are you guys crazy? We're gonna get kidnapped.
Right.
But everyone's like, oh my God, let's go sneak out of the house. I go, why? We're gonna get kidnapped. You know, I just always had that mature kind of level on me. And so when I started doing mornings, what I didn't know is, you know, the more you share, the more people are going to kind of rally around you because somebody's probably been through what you've been. And part of that was I didn't feel comfortable to share personal things about me because that's not anyone's place to know that about me. Like, why would I want you to know this? If I wouldn't tell this to my sister, why would I say that to you on a microphone?
Right.
But there's a fine line there because there is some stuff it's good to share it because it helps everybody else relate to you. Right. Yeah. But I remember there were things they would try and corner me into. And I was like, not having it. Cause I'm like,
you're like, we're just not going to talk about this today.
I would just roadblock it. And now looking back, they probably were like, oh my God, probably Chio and those guys were like, oh my God, we can't even freaking get through her. She's a brick wall. But I didn't know that, again, ignorant bliss. It was ignorant bliss. The only thing that I regretted now looking back that I didn't share is I had gone to an event in New York and I met this guy and he stood me up on a date. This is before we had cell phones that were smartphones with text. Text did not exist, right? We had cell phones, only calls. So I'd come home from the show and there'd be a little red flashing light on my answering machine. It was him and he'd be sweet talking to me, all this stuff. And he's like, okay, we'll come to New York this weekend. I'll take you out. And I remember driving to New York that weekend. I just felt it in me. Like he didn't pick up the phone. I told him, hey, I'm getting ready to get in the car. And then when I got there, he didn't answer the phone. I got stood up and they knew I was going to New York for a date because I was all like, you know, smiley. And when I came back that Monday on the air, they wanted to know like, hey, what happened with your date? And I just shut it down. I just did not want to talk about it because I was so humiliated that he stood me up. But if I had known how that would have played out, like that's what people want. Like that was great to share that. Yeah. This freaking guy, you know, the whole story, I would have taken the whole story. You know, I knew it. And my little inside voice was telling me on the freaking turnpike, this guy's not answering. Why isn't he answering? I'm driving 89 miles from my door to.
I also think not to cut you off. I'm sorry, but like back then, it was almost embarrassing to be stood up. Now it's like you're an asshole, right? Like
ghosted me. Asshole.
Like now it's like, you know, there's all these really funny TikTok videos of like, you know, the worst thing about being straight is being attracted to men. Like, has anybody told like the straight guys like that they need to like get with the program because like we don't really like actually like you anymore? Like, you know what I mean? We're like back then it was like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? And now it's like, you need to go to therapy. Clearly you have daddy issues. You know what I mean?
This guy's a player. This guy's a dirtbag. How many girls have they stood up? It would have been this whole thing. I just felt like it was too close to home because I knew if I told them I got stood up, they were going to try and get it out of me who it was. And I didn't want them to find him and try and call him because I was already humiliated that he just, that's it. I just never heard from him again, but I ended up having a great time anyway. long story, whatever. But that's one of the things where I wish I had shared that story versus then, roadblocking it. But I just roadblocked Nicole because I just didn't, if I didn't feel comfortable, it wasn't your business. It was not your business.
I'm thinking about that now. I feel like, because I have the same approach when I'm on the air, actually.
Okay.
Like, I'm on the Fanatic on the air because it's sports talk radio. There's a lot of things that I keep close to the chest because my whole audience is men. And the more that I give them about myself, I have always felt that it makes me more vulnerable to them because they already feel like they know me. I go to the supermarket and they know that I have a dog named Ginger. I'm safe talking about Ginger on the air because it doesn't, it's a dog. It's very common.
Right.
But I'm at the supermarket and someone's like, "Oh, Natalie, like, how's Ginger doing?" And like that's that level. So I always stay away from those topics, especially because it's men, because I'm like, this gives them an in to then it makes me more vulnerable than I already am as the only woman on the sports.
Well, also, you don't want to turn your show, the show that you're on, into, let's dive deep into Jen's dating life and why is she undateable.
Well, exactly. So from day one, like, that was totally a topic that if they brought it up, like, it's here and there. I now have a boyfriend and he has a nickname. He doesn't even have a real name. He gets brought up every once in a while. It's just because it's like, that's my personal life. And like, we're not going to go there for that. Like, on this podcast, I hope to share more, about my life, but I feel like it also gives you an edge when you're dealing with men by being, kind of having that barrier up, because then they don't feel as comfortable.
I'm talking about giving Neil blowjobs on The Biggest Loser. And she's like, well, I mean, I like maybe went to dinner. I'm like, but I was like, that was 13 years ago. So time has passed,
Yeah.
But we got to get to the sports. But I will say really quick about knowing your situation with Chio and Diego. They weren't kind to you, though. Like, their motive was that they were like Natalie's host, Mike, and Tyrone. They actually very much care about her. And I think that they would make sure that like she's protected. We're like, when you were on the air with Chio and Diego, they didn't really care about you. They wanted the best story for the best calls. And like, that's a really big deal. I don't think you felt safe to share.
That's a great point, Nicole, because when you feel like the team around you has your back, you probably would feel safe to share something. But it was real aggressive in the beginning, not with Chio, but I definitely felt some aggression with Diego, whether he hears this or not, or he ever knows it. I still, people teach you how to treat them, right? Yeah. First impressions are almost unerasable. And one of my first memories of being on the radio in Philly is, I was responsible for entertainment news, and I didn't know a lot about Philly, and Diego was like a Philly boy. I mean, he's everything. He lives and breathes Philly, which is great, but he didn't help me share that. Like, the difference for me is, if you come to Houston, Texas, and you are new to this city, I am Miss effing Houston.
Right. Yes.
I wear the sash, and I want you to love this city as much as me. Yeah. And I want you to know things about this city. Like, did you know that Williams Tower is the tallest building outside of a metropolitan area, blah, 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 in the whole country? Did you know that the Sanchez Center Monument is the tallest building in America? That is a monument, even taller than Washington Monument. Like, all these fun things I want you to know about this city, because I want you to love it like I do. And there was a story about celebrities coming to Philly for something, and there was a restaurant called the Striped Bass. Is it still open?
No, but I remember that.
So
remember that, Natalie?
Okay. Good one. So the Striped Bass apparently was a very like shishi haha restaurant, I guess. Super famous. Okay. So I'm doing the story entertainment news of these celebrities that had come to town, and they were spotted eating at the Striped Bass. And I said on the air, as I tell the story, I go, they went to a restaurant called the Striped Bass. I'm not sure what that is. And instead of like, embracing that cuteness of the naivety, it was more like real aggressive, like, Striped Bass. Everybody knows that. How come you don't know that? How do you not know that? And I'm just like, because I don't know that. I mean, I just got here. I barely know what the Liberty Bell is, So yeah. I mean, it's just interesting. There are a lot of radio people. I don't know if they still do this now. They probably should, but you don't want to come across not genuine. When you move to a city for a radio show or a TV show or television anchors, they need to get to know the city they're talking to. You've got to be relatable to the people that live and die here, right? But there's also a good thing about being, hey, show me. Yeah, I'm new here. Show me. Like I moved to Philly and didn't say rah rah go Eagles right away. I did. That would be completely disingenuous. I mean, I don't know anything about the Eagles. I didn't know who their quarterback is. Right. You know, but a lot of people do their homework. Like they'll come right on the air and be like, "Whoa, JJ Watt is my favorite, Deshaun Watson." But is that true because you were born and raised in Chicago and you love the Bears? You know?
Right.
It's okay
be authentic
if you have a past, and it's okay to let people know you want to embrace your current, like your present, right? So it was just really
what do
weird.
you think the biggest difference is about being in radio from 2000, doing mornings in 2000, being a woman to 2021? I mean, now you're a wife, you're a mom. How long you've been married? I was at her wedding. We had to throw rose petals down from the
It was nice. It was very nice. Look, the difference for you.
Her wedding, by the way, was one of actually the fanciest wedding that I've ever been to. She brought in pipe and drape, had different shaped tables. She had a Greek band and a regular band. We had sliders to snack on at night.
It in Houston?
It was here in Houston,
2009.
Yeah, 2009. And it's right on the cusp of when Facebook and Twitter were happening. And there was not really Instagram yet. So I was able to save myself from 5,000 pictures being on the internet right when I walked down the aisle versus me being able to put them on, which is a gift I think brides don't get these days now. And phones in the photographer's way, you know, their phones over his, you know. Anyway, so I think the difference for me is not much, only because I got to start this show as the lead, and as the lead, I always led. And I still lead. And the only difference is how do I handle the rest of the party around me, right? So different things have happened in our culture, different things have happened in our society, different things have happened about PC and not PC. But as far as like the nitty gritty of the science of how I do radio, not much has changed, because once you're the lead, you got to lead. And, you know, if you don't know how to do it, you kind of figure it out. And I'm not saying be a bulldozer, like a bulldog biatch, you know, it wasn't like I was telling Ryan. I mean, Ryan and I was very open to anything he was telling me, because I knew Ryan was older than me, and I used to listen to him on KRBE. Right. So even though my name was first, you know, I looked at what is his, you know, whatever he wanted to contribute. And then we just kind of made it work together. And I had a little bit of experience of trying to produce a show, because there was a time on the Chio show, we didn't have a producer and I was doing it, but I didn't realize I was doing it until I look back and go, oh yeah, I was doing that.
You're like, I was actually producing that show.
I was booking the guests and I was doing that.
Yeah.
So it just kind of worked. And it's just all about like, you know, you got to be able to manage your players. You got to manage your players and make everybody feel respected and make everybody feel safe and make everybody feel happy and fun. And ultimately it falls on me. I'm the captain of the ship.
And I think too, and why I think stayed friends for so long, is that Roula is intelligent. So like, as the times have changed, as the world has changed, as you've become a mom, is like, I think you've always had that like badass boss spirit, but you've also like educated yourself as to what's going on. And we've always had great conversations. And I think that that's also important too. You never were like the ditzy girl. You always were very like, I'm smart. Like this is a cerebral show. We're going to have fun, but we're going to like, they know they mourned with you when you lost your dad. They celebrated with you when you had, you know, the kids,
my babies. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like that,
and by the way, Natalie, I did also give my husband a nickname. I called him Mr. Determined before he was the husband, because he was so determined to date me no matter how many walls I put up. He was like, I'm breaking them down, girl. I'm taking you on this ride.
That is
still waiting for mine. In fact, her husband Tassos lived in Dallas and would fly to Houston with an orange carry-on suitcase. He would fly south, because Southwest in Texas is like Amtrak in the Northeast.
Right.
Yeah. Texas is so big, but he would fly all the time. So at their wedding, their groom's cake, Roula had his orange suitcase replicated as a cake with the Southwest ticket and everything.
And it had a heart where Houston is, and it had like Houston and Dallas.
But he pursued her, and they got engaged after 9 months. And you've been married 11, almost 12 years.
He knew that you were the one then.
Yeah.
Now, because, you know, you're in this such powerful role, you know, you're running your own morning show. When you say that he had to, you know, kind of break down those walls, was it because you were so focused on work?
No, because my husband at the time was a consultant who would travel around the country to do different things. But on the weekends, he did a radio show in Dallas, and he had a real passion for radio. And when I talked to him the first time, my sister tried to set me up with him just because she cyber stalked like Greeks in radio and found this Greek guy in Dallas. And she goes, yeah, there's a Greek guy who does radio in Dallas. I go, so? He goes, I think you should date him. I go, no, I don't date radio douchebags. And he's probably a radio douchebag because he's a dude in radio. That's what I said. Yeah. So I just knew of him because she mentioned him to me. And then after a series of weird events, I instant messaged him on AOL Instant Messenger because something had happened to me that was radio connected. And I thought he'd probably relate. And then after that, I was thinking, oh, great. Now I've opened the freaking lines of communication. He thinks I like him.
Right.
So the next time I was on my computer and he popped up in the box, I just said, what's your phone number? And he was like, right now? I go, yeah, I'm gonna call you right now. And so he gave me the number and he goes, this is Tassos. And I remember looking at the phone, like, oh, he's got a hot voice. Okay. I go, hi, this is Roula. He's like, hi, Roula. I go, let me tell you why I can't stand you. I'm never going to date you. So let's just end this right now.
Right. Like, let's just get
And he was like, this chick is freaking batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Pardon my French. And so that's the whole thing about him breaking down the walls was I told him, you go with God and your path for radio, whatever you want to do, because it's a tough business. I know what I'm doing. I know where I am and I know where I live. So you're going to go to Chicago, Seattle, wherever you want to go, you go ahead and you live. I'm over here and we're not doing this.
Right.
And that's why he was like, why do you keep trying to like, he was like, so you're telling me if I drive to Dallas drive to Houston or I fly to Houston, you're not going to go have dinner with me? And my response was, well, I mean, if you made the effort, I guess. And then it was always like, oh my God, this girl's crazy. Yeah. So I guess it's true what they say about when a man knows what he wants, he will move mountains to get it, because I gave him plenty of reasons to just be like, this is too hard. Yeah. This is too hard. Yeah. And, you know, something spoke inside of me within 3 months of dating him, which I wouldn't even call my boyfriend until after like the 12th date. I just knew that this is it. He's the one. And when we talk now about our relationship, he always says that when I walked into the restaurant where I was supposed to meet him for the blind date, and I smiled walking in to the server, to the host of the door, he said when he saw that smile, he's like, that's it. I'm going to marry this girl. And I did not feel the fireworks the same when I sat across from him for the first time. And he knows this. And he was like, okay, that makes me feel good. I go, but don't you want that? You know, I had like pause, because if I had fallen like all into you, then we kind of would have like done this too fast and then be like, oh no, what have we done? But there really was like, I really thought about it. Like I thought about it, you know, like I really thought about it. And the fact that I've married a Greek-American boy with off the boat parents, as I am a Greek-American girl with off the boat parents, almost like, it's like a freaking genie in a bottle. Like how'd that even happen?
Because it's very rare for like, I mean, you are loud, just like me, loud, outspoken, in your face, you know, on the radio, talk about, like, a lot of men are intimidated by that. Totally. You know,
and I had reserved the fact I'm never going to get married because men are too scared to date me because like, you can talk about this on the radio.
And you've also struggled with your weight, as I have. Yes, we're going to have Angie Taylor on. You and I resonate. Angie Taylor's the hot girl like Natalie, so they'll have more in common.
Angie Taylor. But no, just to give you a scoop, Natalie, after I left and Angie Taylor replaced me, Angie Taylor was like was it Philly Magazine or something, in her swimsuit, and it was like hot Angie Taylor Q102. I was like, oh, it's funny. It's funny. I missed that phone call. Where did that message go for me?
Where's my spread and Philly Mag?
No, but I think both are so important. And I think that another reason why this worked with Natalie and I is that I never realized, like, because her audience is, majority of the audience is men, right? So the disrespect she gets, like what she gets overlooked for because of her looks. Like I even said when I first saw her, I was like, oh, just a hot girl on the radio. It's like, no, she's actually insanely smart. She's super funny. And like, I think on my side of being somebody that's always struggled with my weight, I've always struggled with boys. Like it's two separate worlds.
Yeah, it's like Charlize Theron said very famously that nobody's asked her out in like 3 years because she's freaking Charlize Theron. She's smoking hot. Right. No guy can handle it. And the guys that do are the bozos that when you walk by them, like, hey, you want my phone number? Can I have your phone number? That they're not serious. But if you actually, at this point, yes, I will take your phone number. Please give me some companionship.
Yeah. So I think it's awesome that there are so many differences of women and their struggles, and that's something that like is very relatable. But yeah, I'm still waiting for my Tassos too, so it's coming. All right, so let's get into sports. So you grew up Houston. Now obviously your parents are from Greece.
Yeah.
So because you have always known sports. I mean, and not just like, sports like we know sports, contracts.
Yeah.
You've known money breakdown. The general manager who you saw was at Christie sleeping with this ex-secretary's first cousin. You know what I mean?
Like, so you even got the juice on that side too.
Know where the GM lives. Well, look, when I was growing up, since my parents were immigrants, it was all about just, restaurant, make the bread and butter, go home, 5 kids in the house, 7 people in the house. It's crazy chaos all the time. We weren't really like crazy sports people. The first time I ever went to a professional sports game, I went to a Houston Oilers football game simply for the fact that then Oiler owner Bud Adams was threatening to move them to Tennessee. And if we didn't sell out the Astrodome, Monday Night Football will not air that game in Houston and the rest of the country gets to see it. Yeah, we were going to be blacked out. So we bought 4 tickets. It was against the Giants, the New York Giants. And that was my first time ever in the Astrodome, which is iconic and just sitting there now like a rust bucket, unfortunately, to watch a professional football game.
Yeah.
And guys, my first ever professional baseball game was the Phillies at Veterans Stadium. It's the first time I ever went to a baseball game.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
First ever baseball game. I was not until I was in radio in Philadelphia at a Phillies game when they were so terrible that we'd get like free tickets to sit on the 7th row on the 7th level where you get your butt kicked if you wore the wrong clothes.
What year was that? So
2001.
2003.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even remember who was on the team then. Like Bobby Abreu.
Yeah.
That was a dark time.
Dark time.
Yeah.
Remember how dark it was? Because when we were there was nobody else there. Like nobody there.
Yeah.
So I got into sports when I was in my right before I got into radio. The Houston Rockets went back to back in the 90s. It was Bulls and Rockets. That's the only people that won championships was the Bulls and the Rockets. And everyone's joke is, well, that's because Jordan quit for those 2 years, and that's why Houston had a chance, right? So when the Rockets got into the championship, I mean, of course, the whole city goes nuts, as y'all know, when Philly won the Super Bowl or the World Series.
Was Akeem Olajuwon, right?
Akeem Olajuwon, Akeem the Dream, Olajuwon.
Yeah.
So I got really crazy for that, and I used to bartend at Christie's, and I'd wait tables. And when the games were on, I would stand in front of the TV like this close. The TV was elevated in the bar, and I would stand on the TV. I'd be pacing, and my dad was all like, "Roula, why you care so much? They're gonna get paid anyway." Like my mom and dad always said to me, "Why do you get so caught up in this? These people, if they win or they lose, guess what? They still get their millions." And it's the damn truth, because damn doesn't it hurt when your team freaking loses and the rest of us losers are sitting around moaning about it for a week and a half. Meanwhile, these bozos are off on private jets going to islands in Hawaii and saying, whatever, suckers, on the next season.
Yeah, we're living through that with Carson Wentz right now. Like, that's kind of like the crux of the Philadelphia sports heart right now is the $30 million that the Eagles will be eating next year.
So let's go to, when did the Oilers leave? And what was the gap between the Oilers and the Texans?
Okay. I don't know how many years it was, Nicole, but I remember the Texans were born when I was in Philly. Because I remember we didn't have Google and access to internet like we do now, where I could watch like live Houston news on my phone or something. I remember having to dig for that story on Internet Explorer to see what did the Houston team end up getting named and all this. So it was, I think, 2000. Oh, I got a topless boy in my room. Oh, you can't find it, sweet boy? Okay, can you wear something else, my sweet boy? Because mommy's talking. Can you ask daddy to help you, my sweet boy? He wants his Brother Bear top. I got him his Brother Bear pajamas, and he wants Brother Bear
top.
Where's Brother Bear?
Just give me a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know, Jen was just like creeping hardcore.
I know. Did you see her? She was like this.
She's like, "Hello, why are you paying attention to me?" And then she was just barking at me because I haven't had like a second to pet her.
She's like, "I miss you, Mom. I miss you."
I know. I'm like,
sweet boy. Okay, sorry.
Oh my God, so cute.
I'm almost done. Yeah. And then when I'm done, I will find you the shirt. I love you.
Look at his little face. His little face.
And he's a cutie pie. So I think it was 99 that the Oilers left us, and then we got the Texans in like 2001. I should probably look that up. I mean,
so what would you say? Because I every time we had somebody on, I talk about this. Like in Philly, obviously, like the Eagles are the team.
Yeah.
Is that like the Donovan McNabb era too?
Yes, Donovan McNabb. That's how I remember. He did the Chunky Soup commercials with his mom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Would you say that it's the obviously the Astros, would you say it's the Houston, I mean, the Rockets are the team of the city?
No, it's Astros now because the Astros won the World Series.
Right.
And then all that chaos that came after it.
Right. I mean, I assume we're going to get there. Or should I ask? I mean, I'll answer that.
No, go ahead. Ask it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're an Astros fan, I take it. How do you feel?
Insane.
And was
like
at the World
I went
Series
to every
games.
single World Series game. I did everything. I went to so many games when they were in the 100+ loser seasons. I went to like 15 games in 22 days. I mean, I got crazy hardcore because my husband's a sports fan. We did it together.
So how did you feel when it came out that they had cheated?
God.
How do you
now when you said that, I still got chills. Like I recoil and just
I can't imagine how that makes.
Can you imagine if your Eagles, Eagles with Nick Foles, if that got marred, can you imagine how you would feel? The euphoria of that win, what it did for your city, what it did for you as a longtime Eagle fan, and then to have somebody tell you that's not how it was supposed to be.
Well, and
you're like,
you know what's funny? When that story broke, I remember I said that on the air. I said I feel for their fans who have put in their time and effort and all of this energy, and just to have them see this championship be torn apart. You know, I mean, you still had that moment and those moments afterwards where I'm sure it was just, we finally, we did it and yada yada. But then it's like nationally, it was the embarrassment.
It was so brutal. It was so brutal. So of course, and also being on the radio too, you have to really like absorb this because it almost feels like we are like the principal for some people. And if the principal said it, then, oh crap, it happened. Right.
Yes.
So I did not want to say that they had cheated until we really knew what had happened. Because because it really hurt my heart anyway, because same with us. I mean, you spend money on this team.
Yeah.
These people are your heroes.
Yeah.
Whoever lived in Philadelphia the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, whether they were 5 or 55, they will always remember how they felt, and they will always remember the roster. They will always remember Nick Foles and what he did, right?
Yeah.
So for us, Altuve and Bregman and Springer and Correa and Verlander and all these people, like these are heroes. You are gold. You are royalty in this city.
Yeah.
And these guys because they had so much heart and they played so hard for all those seasons together. I mean, Springer started here.
Yeah.
So when that happened, you're thinking, there's no way. There's no way they cheated. There's no way, because those trash cans, even if that was true, we won the away games in Dodger Stadium and there weren't any trash cans there, honey. So there's no way. There's just some crybaby sobber who's trying to mar this for everybody and F that guy. And then it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. And you're like, oh my God, what's happening? Oh my God, what's happening? And really the person I put all my anger towards, because I love these players so much and they've done so much just as people in the city. And maybe it's just me. I'm not saying it's right, America, so don't hold me to it. I put all my hate on Alex Cora. Alex Cora, he was the pitching manager.
That did it.
He was the brainchild to do this.
Yeah.
And it just kind of all fell in line. And these ball clubs, guys, they are so tight. When you talk about band of brothers, whether it's World War II or baseball, it's band of brothers. So imagine if you're Jose Altuve, who I have met him many times. And I know that this guy, heart of gold. When I tell you heart of gold, this guy learned how to freaking play baseball in freaking Venezuela by throwing bottle caps and sticks and hitting them. You can hit a freaking bottle cap. You can hit a damn ball, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy lives and breathes it. He'd gone through so much with the Astros. They got him when he was 16. I mean, Altuve was like the only name that we knew for so many years, and he deserved it so much. And if you have somebody you look up to and you trust, and that whole team chemistry is great, and one of the top bosses tells you, why don't we do this? Then maybe you and the other guys are like, wait, are you serious? I mean, it probably like, I'm going to imagine if something I really looked up to cracked like that to me, I'd be like, wait, what do you mean? Like, that's not, and I almost didn't do the deep dive to see which player exactly said what, but I have heard that Altuve said, he told them, don't do that when I'm up at bat, because he didn't think it was right. Don't do that when I'm at bat, whether they did it anyway and he heard it, but listen, I've been in Minute Maid Park. Many games, hundreds of games. During that 2017 season World Series, the level of noise in there was out of control. I'm sitting next to my husband and I can't hear him. How the hell is Altuve or Springer or anybody here in a damn trash can day? How is that possible?
Yeah.
That's what most Houston fans were saying. I could not hear myself talking in May Park. How the hell are they here in the trash can? How?
Yeah.
Well, whether I want to believe it or not, in my heart, they said that's what happened, and that's what happened. And when we got murdered by saying, oh, cheaters, you know, I was really worried about the 2020 season, thinking, holy shit, this is going to be terrible. This is going to be terrible. They are going to need like therapists at every inning because these other cities are ready to burn them alive.
Yeah.
And I remember laughing so much when COVID happened, thinking, you know what the biggest winners are? The Astros.
Yeah.
There's no baseball.
So I remember the story, unless I'm mixing two stories right now. My brain could be. So one of the things that they were accused of, wasn't there something with like electrical currents?
No, that was one of those. That's one of those stories that people pile on, but actually it wasn't a real story.
Okay, so
because people were trying to say they had some kind of like buzzer system or something. That's absolutely not true.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say, because at the time when we touched on that story, it had originally, if they did do that, or allegedly at the time, it was a Philadelphia Phillies thing that happened when they were the Philadelphia Athletics.
Oh, really?
In like the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they were saying that, and this is so Philly of us to be like, Houston stole their cheating techniques.
No, I kind of feel like it's like the game of telephone. You know, the game of telephone, like what's the scuttlebutt in the village? You know, like people pile on, like, well, I heard. So that buzzer story, I feel like is so. You know, people who are here know that's not true. But it was at the camera and the trash cans. They said there was a camera that would signal what the pitcher signal was, so then the batter knew what was happening.
Right. But that's what was funny. I remember the time they were like, well, you know, the Phillies originally had this electrical current technique. And I was like, first of all, it was the Athletics. And that was like 1906. And I'm like, I'd like to think that if they did do that, the actors are a little bit more technologically advanced, that we're not stealing cheating techniques from like 1906. But I mean,
the cheating scandal hurt so bad because, you know, in 2019, we went back to the World Series and we made it within like the skin of our teeth. I mean, it was 7 games. Yeah. If you remember, that was the Washington Nationals. They won 3 games and then we won 3 games back. Yeah. And they were like, I'm sorry. No. That was, we won all the away games. It was all the away games World Series. Whoever had the away, you got the win. Right. That was so crazy because we had home field advantage. We had, you know, we were the number ones. We had the 4 of the 7 games. We were like, we got this. When we didn't win game 6, God, I could not freaking sleep. I remember going to my bathroom and sitting on the edge of the tub and just like, I felt like I was going to barf. I was like, oh my God. They didn't win game 6. Oh God, that was their chance. What's going to happen? Game 7. Like, why do we do this to ourselves? Again, mom and dad, Roula, why you care? They still get paid. And so when game 7 happened, it was just gut punching because the 2019 World Series would have saved a lot of the psyche of Houston fans and cover us for the rest of the world, saying, well, 2017 maybe wasn't a fluke because guess what? They just kicked ass in 2019.
They did it again.
Yeah. And then look at 2020, what happened? Like my producer was so pissed off when we lost the World Series because he said, you know what sucks the worst about losing to the damn Nationals? Who the hell are they? They're not even making the damn playoffs next year. And guess what? We'll be right back here again. And then what happened in 2020? Oh my God. We go down 3-0 against the Tampa Bay freaking Rays, which we smoked in the first round the year before. And then we're like, oh my God, we're going out like this. Springer's last game is like this. We're getting swept. And then boom, boom, boom. We win 3 in a row. It's like, holy shit, this game 7. Oh my God, I'm going to put my hair out. And then we lost. And then I actually thank God for that loss. You know why? Because then we had to face the damn Dodgers and I did not want to hear it. I did not want to hear a Dodgers Astros World Series again and the immense hate we were going to have. So I go, you know what? It's fine. We made it. We proved that we were good. We'll win next year again.
So what's the vibe before we move on to James Harden and I want to talk about obviously Deshaun and JJ, but what's the vibe in Houston of the Astros? Like, are people over it? Are they?
There are some people that absolutely are not over it. There were stories where longtime season ticket holders wanted to sue the team for all the money they spent and all the support and all the mental anguish they suffered, knowing that they gave thousands upon thousands of dollars in that park for cheaters. Yeah. And then other people just want it to quietly just dissolve. Right. Like, you know, you still love these guys. You still love the ride they gave you. You still love everything about what happened. You just hate that it's not as it seemed, because I was at game 5 of that World Series where it was like the freaking home run derby. It was insanity. And it kind of hurts me now thinking the exhilaration I had of that game. That was like one of the top moments of my life. And I've done a lot of things. I have flown to Paris to have dinner with Ricky Martin at the height of his fame. I have been sung to by Enrique Iglesias on stage, and he sang My Baby Belly. I have done a lot of things.
She has.
And this was one of the top moments of my life because that game, I cannot explain to you guys what was happening in the stands of Game 5. It was like, think of like the most epic New Year's Eve party paired to the most epic fraternity party, paired to the most epic, like, fun friend vacation party you've ever had. It's all together with strangers and everyone's losing their shit. Like every time a home run would get hit, beer would go flying, popcorn everywhere. It's in your hair. You don't care. Everyone's hugging. They're high-fiving. Oh my God, we tied again. Okay, now it's 11-8. Okay, I think we can breathe now. Oh my God, they tied it 11-11. Holy crap. We're in 15 innings or whatever it was. The exhilaration of that game being one of the top moments of my life, then it kills me now to think, well, wait a second. Do we keep tying the home runs because of the trash cans? Like, did we go on that ride because of the trash cans?
You know what I find interesting is, and I thought this at the time, it's funny. There was a lot of outrage, rightfully so.
Of course.
They had a competitive advantage, right?
Yeah.
But hello, how long were steroids rampant in baseball for? So I understand the outrage. However, at the same time, it's teams are always looking for a competitive edge, right? And they got away with it for a minute. So I'm not saying that it's okay, but also like steroids were such a huge problem in Major League Baseballs for years, and we're never going to know the truth about it. So
never will. And the other thing too, Natalie, is that people were saying, you can take this two ways. The statement I'm going to make, you're going to say, well, you're just copping out as a Houston fan, or, well, it's true, but that hurts, but it's true. Houston got busted, but Boston Red Sox and Yankees also were investigated for cheating. But because Houston already had been hung, all the attention was on us, and they kind of skated by and said, okay, well, we did it, but nobody's check. I mean, I feel like this has happened, and people, and we were saying on the air too, as the Roula and Ryan show, we said, look, it's not right. It's not right if everybody's cheating. It's still not right. They're still cheating, but it hurts when you're the person that's being the scapegoat, when this stuff has been happening.
An example of.
And not just being an example, y'all, we were being murdered. I mean, death threats on these people's lives. People want to kill them. Other baseball fans were threatening to come to Houston to murder these players, murder them because they stole a championship. And I'm thinking, is this what it's all about? This is not what it's all about. We need to take a step back. This is not that important in your life. I mean, are you healthy? Do you have cancer? I mean, you're cancer free, right? You're cancer free. Right. You don't go to chemo every morning. Okay, step back and take a breath. Yeah, it's not that important. But I get it. I mean, I get the fire that I would be pissed off too. If I was a Dodger fan and I lost to the Dodgers as an Astro player and I found out they cheated, oh God, I'd want blood. But would I want blood to make them pay for it and die? No, of course not. But it just hurts, and it just happened, and that's what it is. And so look at the Dodgers have their World Series now, and I don't know, guys. It was just such a hard time. It's such a hard time. But George Springer leaving this year because we knew it was the end of his contract. I mean, I knew the Astros weren't going to keep him because he got $150 million from the Toronto Blue Jays. That was not going to happen with our ball club because our ball club is almost capped out, right? I mean, they didn't throw like nothing at him, but they didn't give him. I mean, I would go too. The guy's probably he got his ring. He almost got the second ring. Damn it. I wish we had that damn second ring. He's got 3 ALCS rings. He's got $100 million freaking dollars. How old? He won the lottery.
How old is he now?
28, I think.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then the same week I had Springer on the cusp. We have Deshaun Watson, JJ, and Harden all like in 6 days. Being a Houston sports fan was insane for 7 days straight.
Let's talk about Harden. What was the vibe and how do you feel about that situation? And then what was the media in Houston? How were sports stations talking about it? Because the whole reason why we want to do this is that I really believe that Philly is so mean to the athletes that they ruin athletes, that athletes come to Philly and that Carson Wentz and Bryce Harper and Ben Simmons and the media and the social media and the fans, it's so much that they can't handle it.
Okay, and explain something to me, Nicole. Here's what I understand is where you're coming from, because I haven't been there in a long time. Do Philly sports fans, like, of course, oh yeah, you're the best when you're winning. But if you make one wrong move, they murder you and destroy you and they hate you forever. For sure, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
So the difference is, you're right. You have a great point. As an athlete, you have to think twice when you sign a Philly contract, because what's happening in Houston right now is People have been asking JJ Watt to please go win somewhere else. We love you so much. We think you deserve more than this. People love George Springer so much that everyone's happy for him to go. I'm not sitting here saying, what the fuck, George Springer? I can't believe you screwed us. Pardon my French. But can we guess on this? I hope you.
Yeah, you could curse.
Oh, absolutely.
So, you know what I mean? Like, we don't sit around doing that because we get it. It's a business. They're a person. They only have so many years of athleticism in them. And they served us well. They served us well. But the Harden thing is weird because Harden, for diehard Rocket fans, there are some people like, he didn't give me personally, he didn't give me and my impression of what the fans think, didn't give him a reason like JJ Watt gives you or Springer or Correa or Altuve has given us to want to rally behind him and be like, yes, James Harden, go get your ring. Because James Harden came to us as not the top-notch guy from the Thunder. It was Kevin Durant, right?
Yeah.
He became who he was playing for the Rockets, right? MVP, 50-point games, 60-point games, 40-point games, 30 games in a row, and all that. And anything that he asked for, they gave it to him. They brought him Dwight Howard. He got Dwight Howard. They couldn't win, couldn't see it, out. They brought him Russell Westbrook, his boy. I mean, like Shaquille O'Neal said, that was your boy from Little League. Couldn't make it work.
Yeah.
Wanted Chris Paul, got Chris Paul. I mean, exactly to quote what Shaq was saying after this happened, you think you gave your all to Houston, but you didn't give your all because they gave you a lot and you didn't deliver a championship. So that's a bum deal. And so, look, if James Harden gets a championship, I'll be happy he got it. That's fine. I just feel like it was really bad mojo. It was really bad mojo, especially when he wouldn't talk. And then when he did talk, he goes, I just don't think it's fixable. That just sucks. That's like, why do you want to hold on to a boyfriend that's trying to get the hell away from you, that he's cheating blatantly in front of you? And you're saying, please don't leave. You know, that's ridiculous.
Any of his off the court behavior or had anything to do with the fans' perspective of him, or why maybe they didn't exactly feel connected to him? Because a lot of the banter here that when, you know, it was coming up that the Sixers were heavily favored was that he wasn't going to take the role seriously because, you know, he likes to go to strip clubs and he likes to party and he likes to do whatever he wants to do, and that he wasn't necessarily as dedicated to the team.
Well, I don't feel like, as a Houston fan, and I said this on my regular morning show, and one of my colleagues is a Super Rockets fan, so he follows all of them, all of their everything, every game, every win and loss. I said, you know what, for James Harden, doesn't hurt me that bad. Doesn't hurt me like a JJ or a Springer, because I feel like he didn't know us. I mean, he was here to play the game, and then as soon as it was off season, he was out of here. Like, you never see him.
That's what
but
I mean.
He did have the James Harden Foundation. He did help out kids and things like that. But I don't feel like he was as meshed in the fabric like these other players are. Like, if JJ Watt leaves, I even said on the radio, if JJ Watt leaves Houston, for every person that's bitching about JJ Watt to leave, even at one point I said, oh God, just go somewhere and win, JJ. You don't want that to happen to Houston. You do not want JJ Watt going to the Hall of Fame in somebody else's jersey. This guy has done so much for this city that we are recognized around the world for that guy's face.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you don't want him to go.
You and I were texting that a little bit today because Jimmy Fallon had JJ Watt on, and I said, why do you think that he got as famous as he got? Because JJ Watt's a superstar. People know he hosts SNL.
Yeah. But
he's not a quarterback. You didn't win a Super Bowl in Houston. Is it because of his philanthropy? Is it because what he did for the Hurricane that he is the megastar that he is?
That's because he's hot. I mean, he's a freaking beast on the field. He's a beast. He's a beast. He was the 11th round draft pick for the Texans in his rookie season, and people booed him. And he says that he still has audio of the booing to motivate him when the Houston fans booed him. Nice. It was his rookie season. I was at the playoff game against the Cincinnati Bengals when he swatted that ball and he picked it off and ran it in for a touchdown. And everyone went nuts. And everyone's like, oh my God, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Okay. Then you see he's a monster on the field. He's a beast and he's hot.
Yeah.
He's smoking hot. And that is, what is that? That's attractive to movies, TV, magazines, social media, women. He's hot. He's a beast. He's 6'6" tall. He's like, whatever his poundage is, he's just, I've seen him in person.
Well, and
you cannot hide if you're JJ Watt.
And he has a good personality. He's funny.
And he's sweet.
Yeah. So you said about the booing, and Natalie was like, Stacey, and that's actually a really good point. Does Houston get pissed at its players?
Yes.
Okay.
We get pissed at our coaches and our admin more than the players, because in all my years as a Texan fan, when we had a 12-0 season going into the last 4 games of the season, I was like, oh my God, not 12-0. I'm sorry. It was 4-0. And then we lost like a couple in there, but we were like 12-2 going into the playoffs. Like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And then when they dropped the ball, everyone like murdered Kubiak over that. Like, that stupid Kubiak doesn't know how to freaking run the ball. It's always like field goal, field goal, field goal. Make a damn touchdown and win a game, you asshole. You know, like everyone wanted to just kill Kubiak. And then Kubiak leaves the Texans, goes to the Broncos, and wins a damn Super Bowl the next year. I mean, God. Right. So we usually go after the coaches from what I've seen. When it comes to Rockets, it's players. When it comes to Astros, I don't know where the haterade lies on that. It's because it's so much analytics. It's so hard. You have to hit the damn ball. At the end of the game, in the cheating scandal, at the end of the game, you still had to hit the damn ball. Yep. You can bang that trash can all damn day to me and tell me, here's what's coming at you, Roula. I'm like, bing, I didn't get it. You know, they still have to hit the ball. They're amazing athletes.
Nicole, that was Mike Missinelli's stance on the entire cheating scandal, was that, okay, fine, I get it, but they still had to hit the ball. Like, that's exactly what he would say. Yeah. What do you think? How does the fan base in Houston feel about Daryl Morey? What was it like when he left there?
Okay, so when Daryl Morey left, I feel like it was kind of in the noise of everything else that's going on, because, you know, we're in a pandemic. At one point, we were like one of the hottest freaking red centers or epicenters of COVID. Yeah. And there was a lot of noise around Daryl leaving. It wasn't as crazy. It was kind of like one of those, here's more salt in the wound. Oh, guess what, guys? Daryl Morey's leaving the Rockets. Oh, crap. But remember, Daryl Morey got in some hot water for speaking out against China.
Yeah.
And that spoke volumes, where you're careful of how you're even talking about Daryl Morey talking about China, because everybody around the world will think what they think about who owns whom when it comes to countries and all the things we have. But pretty much everything I'm looking at around me, girls, is made in China. Everything I'm touching, made in China.
Right here on the bottom of my cup.
Made in China.
Everything. Cheer.
Right. So, you know, when he said what he said, I think if we were in a different world where Peter and Paul aren't in bed together somehow paying somebody out, I think that he could have stood up, and it could have been like something like, I mean, if I said to you guys something about a country you can't even pronounce being like having a genocide from another country that nobody talks about, you'd be like, oh my God, I didn't know this. That's really good. But because it's that, so, you know, and, you know, at one point when we had Yao Ming as a Houston Rocket, that was a deal with China. He was a piece of property, guys. He was not a human. He was a piece of property that we were basically leasing from China, and all of China had Houston Rockets jerseys on. I mean, the money that came in from China for Yao Ming's trade or deal. And then when he wasn't playing with the Rockets, he'd go right back to China and play full seasons with them in our off seasons. Yeah. And that really wore him down. Yeah. So when people were like, stupid Yao Ming came and played with us, Yao Ming's useless, it's because he's exhausted. Yeah. He's 7'4" or whatever he is.
I'm going to probably say something controversial, but he was like the sweatshops of basketball.
Poor guy. He was like burned to the core. He was doing 2 seasons in 1 year. And a guy that tall, his bones need rest, man.
Yes.
Right. Yes. Think about this. I don't know if y'all ever talked this on your show about football. I've been friends with lots of Texan players over the year, and Texan players that I've known have said, like, 29, you're in your prime, 30, you're over the hill. And when you think about why football is only 1 time a week, they need that week to recover their body and their bones. These times where they've had these wonky times where it's like Thursday night football and then Monday night football or something insane where they have like 2 games in 10 days. It's brutal on their bodies. And the thing that football has kind of turned me off more in the last couple of years because of the things I know that football does to these guys. So, like one of my really good friends who was a Texan, an original Texan years, you know, when for the first rounds of the teams, he said that, look at all these ex-players or current players. They're domestic abusers, AKA wife beaters, woman beaters. I say woman beaters because when people say domestic violence, it kind of softens it for you. Like, oh, it's domestic violence. No, this man is beating the crap out of someone he claims to love, beating them to almost into their lives, and they're getting away with it and still get to play because the mighty dollar, the money has to be made. And he said, all of this comes from football. It's not right to be banged around like that. And it screws with you. I mean, now we're seeing it more and more in the last few years of like these innocent high school kids who like commit suicide and the parents are left asking questions like, what happened? Something isn't right with football in your brain. We probably shouldn't be doing this anymore.
Yeah. I felt that way over the last couple of years as well. I think we've talked about this, Nicole, where there's some days where I really struggle, and which is why I feel like how you're saying, Houston's really hard on the coaches. I hear in Philly, I'm so hard on the organization and the team when it comes to their decision making, because I'm like, if you're playing better, your players aren't getting hit as much and their brains are safer. So I'm like, it's your job to put the best people in the best position for them to win, because they're the ones who are sacrificing their bodies, and it's
totally sacrificing. I mean, look at all these like legendary players. I can't think of one for a Philly example right now, because the only one that comes to my mind is Houston Oilers Earl Campbell. Houston Oilers Earl Campbell. Have you all heard of him? Earl Campbell.
Yeah.
Okay. Earl Campbell, he shouldn't look the way he looks for the age he is because of football. And those guys in the 70s and 80s, guys, they got hit way harder. They were playing on basically concrete AstroTurf underneath, and it was so rough. At least now they have some rules, back then it was like brawling on the field.
I mean, when you see some players, I've met some players in real life and they all look 50 and they're like, hey, I'm 34. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm 32. And I'm like, it's scary. So let's talk about Deshaun Watson. So you have some people saying he's a baby, shut up, play football. And then you have other people saying, we get it. We understand why you're frustrated. What is your take? And then what do you think actual Houston feels about it?
Well, Houston as a whole loves him so much and doesn't want him to leave that he had to actually tweet out on Monday, please, I heard there's some rally or something for me. Y'all going to gather. Please don't gather. It's COVID. Please don't do that. You guys do not need me. I'm fine. I'm just fine. You guys I got me and you got you. So, a lot of people don't want him to go. I think he is an incredible player, but unfortunately for players like JJ and for Deshaun, as amazing as they are, the death nail for me that really worried me is when former Texan Andre Johnson said in the press that the Texans organization is known for wasting a player's career. And that is so bad, because it's scary because it looks true. It's scary because it looks true, because the choices they've made on how they have made that operation work, it's not good for them. And we have these crown jewels, and you're just not doing it right. You're not doing it right. When Bill O'Brien traded away DeAndre Hopkins, I think if the United States of America could make a noise as a collective whole, the city of Houston, Texas made such a loud noise that people in freaking Seattle could hear us. Like,
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. What was that like?
I feel like people would have been rioting.
Yeah.
If that was Philadelphia, there would have been riots in the streets.
Probably. If we were like Philly fans, somebody would have probably torched his house, because that is the most bonehead. That's my third tier sport. And even I know that's the biggest bonehead move. Like, why would you do this? Why would you do this? So the DeAndre thing was a bad shot. And then when the season starts and we're losing and it's just, oh God, what's happening? And then JJ at the post game, she's like, all bulldog face, like, I don't know. We lost. Sucks. And then he didn't want to talk again. This last thing that JJ said, I think it was after the last game, or
it was the game that the Texans got eliminated from the playoffs.
Okay,
so they
that
got
game.
Or not. They lost, so they weren't going to go to the playoffs.
Yes,
and
yes.
But they still had to play, I think, like 3 or 4 more games.
Right.
And that's when he had that like super authentic like press conference.
Yeah, and I don't know if Natalie, if you remember that, or I'll just reiterate for those listening. He laid it out. He's right. He's absolutely right. He said for people to be bitching and moaning about, people ask you, well, how do you get the stones how do you get the stuff and the motivation to play again when you're losing? What are you talking about? We get paid millions of dollars to play a child sport.
Yeah.
You better do the work. You better get out of bed. You better come here with 100% brain. You better do it. You're getting paid. I mean, he got to go to Hawaii when it was out, right? When it was over, guess what? He just like my parents said, Rolla, they still have millions. He gets to disengage, go with his hot wife to Hawaii, have some Mai Tais by the pool, like I said on Found last night.
That's what he said.
His life goes on. His life goes on to the next season. The thing that's happening right now that worried me is that the last time we texted Nicole about doing the podcast, Texans had said they would consider, quote, accommodating releasing JJ Watt. Now, not to be misguided. This is not for the layperson that doesn't pay attention to sports. You think, oh my God, the Texans want to trade him. Are they crazy? He's so good. No, it's not that. It's entertaining the idea to release him because he is so important to us, but he does want to go do something else. And they know they can't serve him here. You can't get served here. It's almost like a mercy kill. It's like, we got to let you go do what you're going to do because this isn't right. JJ doesn't want to leave the Texans. I don't believe that JJ wants to leave the city. I think that when you're a rookie, just like in anybody's career, I don't care what you do, the city you started in has a special place in your heart, especially for what he's done here. I don't think he wants to leave. I think what he wants for Deshaun to be able to shine and for him to have the backup that they deserve to make this a go. This team should have gone to a Super Bowl by now. And there's so many stupid reasons why they didn't.
Well, it's actually just what Justin Verlander did. Like Justin Verlander started in Detroit and wanted to finish, but like he was getting old and he was having issues with pitching. They finally figured it out, but like he wanted to win and he had the opportunity to go to Houston. And so he left Detroit. And it was a lot of, I mean, it's what LeBron did when he left Cleveland the first time to go to Miami. Right. Like when you are when you are JJ Watt, when you are that top, I mean, I try to explain to people who like, especially in Philly, cause it's like, you know, these schmitties from Northeast who like, you know, get so mad at these players. And I'm like, do you understand there's only 32 of them do you understand how elite of an athlete you have to be to do what they do?
Even get there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, do you understand that like, you know, they put in like the third string quarterback, like they're fucking sucks. Get him out of here. Like, do you understand that like he broke the Georgia state record in high school? People, even like the third string people are like they hold records in their state.
Yeah, it's so easy to hate on them when they fail you. Right. But you think they're happy about failing you? Of course not. They want to bring it to you. Right. JJ Watt wants to bring this city a Super Bowl. He wants to be in a Super Bowl. And we as the fans love him so much and appreciate it that there's a percentage that are like, please just go and win your trophy. Just go get your ring. And others are like, oh my God, please don't leave us. Please don't leave us. Please don't leave us. Just let your career end here and never get a ring. But you're always going to be like, all hail JJ Watt, because for the rest of his life, I don't care. Akeem Olajuwon actually didn't finish a Rocket. They traded him to the Toronto Raptors. But for the rest of his life, Akeem Olajuwon walks on Houston streets. He is a god. Yeah. He is the dream. You cannot do wrong. I mean, the respect level of Akeem Olajuwon, that's what JJ's got. So I don't want to see JJ go, and I hope to God he doesn't. He only lives like 3 miles from me. I'll be really sad. When he posts on his Instagram and I see his trees, I go, oh my God, that's my sky too.
So I'm just curious, just because I'm not like into it. So they're saying they're going to accommodate releasing him. What's his contract situation right now?
So the contract that he signed, the last big thing was that he got $100 million contract to stay. I think it was he's a franchise player now. I think it was 5 or 6 years. I got to look it up. Honestly, not that I want to do it wrong because somebody listening.
Oh no, that's okay. I just didn't know is he up for free agency? I should know this.
Yeah, because all of these contracts, they always have like these little clauses. Like
we just got breaking news that the Texans are hiring Ravens assistant David Culley to be your new head coach.
Really?
David Culley. And James Harden just missed a potential go-ahead 3-pointer and sent the game into overtime. Weird that like my two breaking news stories are all Houston. Weird.
Thanks, iPhone stalker.
I know you're that thing. So how I can't believe we've been talking as long as we have to run and wrap it up. But
my kids have to go to bed.
But are they at home or are they at school?
My kids, 2 are virtual, and my kindergartner is he's going because there's only 11 kids in his class, and I feel sad about that. Yeah. Okay, look, I'm looking at this.
My mom and brother have been at school since August.
Oh, really? Wow.
In person. Yeah.
Not only, just to answer your question, his contract, the fully guaranteed money was only $20.8 million. Okay. It's $100 million contract, but 20.8 was guaranteed. The rest of it is contingency of all these things. And the salary cap for 2020 was 15.5. So there's all these like things where you can get released from your contract because here's the thing. My husband, who loves sports, said, if our son's going to play a sport, Roula, it's going to be baseball, because baseball, you sign $100 million contract, you're getting the $100 million.
Life,
In NFL, once your knees go all tissue, you're out. I don't care if you had a $200 million contract. If you only made 40 million, that's it. And that 40 million after agent fees and I always call it like, the parasite fees. Parasite fees are all the douchebags that like, hey bro, I'm your posse. Let's pay for this. Never pay for themselves. The douchebag fee. These guys are left with not a lot of money for the rest of their lives. And they're only 30. Yeah. They're going to live 70 years off that.
And what it does to their body is insane.
And the level they were living at, they're not going to no 1,000 square foot apartment, honey, in somewhere like
that's a whole other podcast.
Avenue.
That's actually a really good idea for a podcast to talk about how crazy it is that each sport is so different in regards to contracts.
Oh yeah.
That like baseball is the least violent on your body, but yet you get paid the most and you get the most guaranteed money, and it's the least popular sport. No one freaking cares about baseball really anymore.
I think it's because it's so precise and it's so scientific, and it's just completely based on repetition and speed and velocity. It's because it's based on science. And if you can hit that sweet spot and have the ability to identify the pitch that's coming towards you,
yeah,
it's
you give me 17 baseballs. I think they all look the same and weigh the same. Lance McCullers from the Astros will tell you, well, see how this feels on the seam right here? Like the velocity I can throw this thing is just, I don't know. I don't know.
That's what makes it. I had a baseball laying around here, but that's, I think, is why you get paid so much when you're so good at it.
Mm-hmm. It's just these guys that are the outfielders and stuff. I mean, like Bregman and Springer and all these guys that can. You get that. I mean, if you see some of Correa's moves that he made in just the last series of the ALCS, holy crap. How do you do this? He lunged his body with a tip of his glove to get that out, got up in a millisecond, threw it to first, and got the double play. How do you do this? It's just a different level. We cannot.
But then you think of like a running back that is literally a horse that uses their skull to push through other 700-pound men.
It's so barbaric.
It's so barbaric. I know.
And my NFL player friend guys told me that the reason domestic violence is so prevalent among players is because you have to rage yourself into a beast for Sunday football. Yep. And then 6 hours later, you got to come down to level 0 and be like, oh, hey, honey, what's for dinner tonight? No, that doesn't happen. You cannot mentally flip it like that.
Do you know
these guys have so much rage?
Yeah. Do you know that Rosie O'Donnell said that? And we talked about this on one of the podcasts. It was when she was still on The View, and there was a wife beating situation. And she said, by no means am I defending this, but you expect these men to literally, their goal that they paid millions of dollars for is to murder these other players.
Yeah.
And then you expect these young men who've been trained since they were 5 years old with their hurting their brains and then just switch it off and be like Mr. Nice Guy. She was like, I'm obviously not defending it, but like from a science and biology standpoint, it's really crazy. Well, today that story broke about Chad Wheeler from the Seahawks.
Oh no, I don't know that story.
Oh my God. He said he didn't take his bipolar medication, wanted his girlfriend to bow to him. She wouldn't. He beat her to a pulp. She had to hide in the bathroom and call 911. I mean, it was just horrific. And he's 26, I think. Wait, what was the story in Houston though, where the wife shot the husband, right? Because he was with the mistress. Wasn't that in Houston?
Wait, a professional player or just a regular person?
No, professional player.
No, I don't remember this one.
I'm pretty sure, or maybe it was the Titans player, because I said Steve McNair. Remember Steve McNair?
Oh yeah.
So I think it was like, hold on, really quick before we go. NFL's Earl Thomas. So Earl Thomas, Baltimore Ravens player Nina Thomas. It was in Austin, Texas. I knew it was Texas. Yep. And she came in and she
shot him. And
she just pulled a gun on him and like hit him with the gun.
That's crazy.
Because she found, this is what it was. She found Earl and Seth. So Earl and the brother naked in bed with other women, and she went cuckoo.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. I remember that story.
Yeah,
we got to do. That was Houston.
We have to do a WAP, right? Is that what? No, not WAP. What are they called? WAG. A WAG episode. WAG episode.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this. You got 3 kids to put to bed. Give everybody your socials, how to find you.
At Radio Roula, ROULA, on Instagram and Twitter. And, I do a syndicated show in 62 cities. I'm trying to get Philly. It's called Weekends with Roula, and it runs across the nation.
I was talking to Blair about you because she's with Westwood One, who runs you.
Oh, really? That's where she is now?
She lives in LA, and she works for the Zach Sang show.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
And she's so funny. That's who syndicates my show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do.
I meant to text you that.
And that runs anywhere from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and depending on what city you're in, but I'm trying to get Philly. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Q102.
She said they need to put you. She was like, they need to put her on 96.5.
Oh, what, my podcast? Am my Weekends with Roula?
Weekends with Roula, yeah.
But they won't do that because I'm on KRBE. I'm on KRBE in the morning.
No, 96.5 in Philly.
Oh, I was like, wait, what? I think Weekends with Roula on KRBE. Yeah. I can't go across the street. Okay, yeah, I got you. I forgot there was a 96.5 in Philly.
All right, tell Tassos I said hi. Oh, give him the Bread Man, right? It's the Bread Man on Instagram. If you're in Houston.
It's at Breadman Co. actually, at Breadman Co. And he has a story of doing a career for 22 years, don't have a passion for it. Remembered he knew how to make bread, and now we've made.
And you supported him too, like you said, honey.
I'm the one that said, you know what? I'm really, I'm a pretty spiritual person, like not crazy over the top, but I believe in things. Like I feel it, and I said to him, I think there is a road here, and the light is not shining on the consulting part of the road. The light is on the bread side. So I really feel like you need to pursue this. And then boom, here he's the bread man of Houston, and now we were in 4 states, all the Whole Foods, in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas.
Because listen to your wife, she's always right.
All right, I'm gonna have like remorse after this because I dropped F-bombs, and I never do that. So
that's okay. That's what's good about it.
I'm sorry. There's 5 minutes left in the Sixers game, and I was the only person on the air today to call that Ben was gonna have a triple double, 17 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists.
Oh, he got it.
Yeah,
that's because he's showing off for LeBron.
Whatever it takes.
He's like, Daddy, love me, Daddy.
I'm like, I gotta get in the game.
Daddy, love and accept me. And he's like, take me to LA, and Ben's gonna leave Philly.
I was supposed to put money on it, and I'm so pissed that I didn't. And like, I was getting these alerts in my corner, and I was like, oh my God, he's gonna hit the triple double, and I forgot to put money on it. Anyway.
Dang.
All right.
Okay. Sidebar. Whatever happens like down the line with JJ, just know if it's the terrible result, I hope doesn't happen, I will be brokenhearted and sad.
Yeah.
And I'll have to have some mourning time if JJ leaves us, but we'll see what happens.
All right,
ladies.
love you.
We'll go find my kid some pajamas, and he's probably passed out on my bed with no shirt on.
Thank you for doing this.
Bye, guys. It was great talking to you.
I'll talk to you later. See ya.
Okay, bye, honey. Bye.